Hey y'all, so we are in the garden today and we're going to attempt to do a video out here. Hopefully all of the sounds don't drown out what I'm trying to say. So we're going to be talking about some of the wild edibles that you can find in your backyard around this time. So, you know, it's spring. We're starting to plant a lot of things. We see our trees are starting to have new buds on them. Leaves are emerging. And so this is the time when we're thinking of changing up, you know, the inside of our homes to really kind of reflect what's going on outside. So we're moving furniture, we're changing up decor, we're doing all the things, you know, adding greenery inside the home as well. And so if we were, you know, back when, we would have been eating seasonally. So this would have been like our first bits of fresh food again and having that fresh flavor. So this would have been something that's really important, this change of season, from going from eating heavy foods, rich foods, like really nourishing foods, but a lot of it would have been, you know, soups and stews, things that are heavier, things that are not as fresh, and we're moving more to, you know, lighter meals and salads and a lot of fresh and more fruits and veggies because now they're in the season. So the same way you're doing that spring cleaning inside, you want to detox, you want to get rid of all those toxins and everything, that heaviness of your body and your soul too. So I want to talk about some of the herbs that are wonderful for spring cleaning. They're cleansers. A lot of these are alternatives, which are just blood cleansers. They help to get rid of excess waste and help flush things out of the system. So some, of course, dandelion, of course, we have here in zone 7. Depending on where you are, you might be a little bit further than us if you're 8 and above, or behind us if you're 6 and below. But so we have dandelion that is flowering, so those flowers can be used as food, usually used in like meats, fritters, and more used for culinary use. They do have some of the medicinal benefits, but most of it is going to be in the leaves and the roots. And so the leaves really wonderful for the kidneys, and then the roots really good for the liver. But it's all good either way. So that's just one. I don't really want to talk too much about dandelion because most people are familiar with the dandelion. Next one I want to talk about is going to be chickweed. So chickweed is what permeates our garden the most. It wasn't always like that, but now it's just everywhere. And so chickweed actually likes places that are damp, and so our environment where we live is actually, we get 50% more rain than other parts of the US than the average, and so we get less of rain. So it does love rain, and it does love when it's cool, and it likes to be like underneath trees. And so but we can find it we have just the regular chickweed, and we have mouse ear chickweed. And so chickweed is really nutritive. It's another one of those alternative plants, but it's also used for losing weight because it can help with water retention, and also has compounds called saponins, which can make you feel a little bit fuller for longer. And so chickweed is a really nice option used in like pestos, and you can just use they're little tiny leaves, and they don't have a flavor that's off-putting to put into, you know, any kind of dishes, like a little bit as garnish. One of the other things that I love about the chickweed is just that it just grows really abundant, and it just kind of takes over. And so because I didn't plant a fall garden or for fall or during the winter, it kind of was a ground cover, which is really good because chickweed is very easy to take out. The roots are really shallow, whereas other roots may go really deep. And it's really different that it is so nutritive when it does have such a shallow root system. So yes, I really do love chickweed. It is a friend of the garden. I have tinctured it. I have for oils. It's a really good topical. It's really good for topical use for any kind of itchy skin, for also for healing, any kind of irritation, so eczema, psoriasis. Okay, so next is, I guess I'm going to talk about clover. I wasn't really thinking about talking about clover. I only have the white clover, and it's sitting right next to me, so I thought I'd talk about it. So the leaves, let's see, The leaves usually grow in a 3. So you may have heard of the whole 4-leaf clover thing, but they mostly grow in a 3. And this plant is in the pea family. You use red clover medicinally, but the red clover, if you're lucky enough to find it in your own garden, is another nutritive plant, but it's really has phytoestrogen, so it's used for a lot of problems for the women's reproductive system as far as balancing hormones go. It's also used on the skin for the same kind of reasons as chickweed, like irritation, anti-inflammatory, but it's also wonderfully nourishing. Red clover also is demulcent, so it does add some moistness, which is really good. Wonderful for the throat and the mucous membranes, of course, working as like expectorant. So there's a lot of wonderful benefits of clover, and I didn't even think I was going to talk about it, but yes, it's another one that's in flower right now. Okay, so next we're going to talk about violets. So I just have a violet leaf here and a violet. So wild violet, it's really funny. We were picking some wild violets to try out Madeline's recipe. You can have it's violet syrup, and so we had fun. That's definitely one. My daughter's bringing me some now. Definitely one that is relatively easy to include kids in as a little for harvesting and preparation. My son was actually eating all the leaves, which I was actually trying to harvest leaves because I'm running out of the violet leaves. But violets, wild violets. Wild violets is another moistening plant, and the herbs in the spring really seem to have an abundance of qualities that really just kind of work on water. A lot of them do a lot of the herbs that you see that work on the water do like to grow in the spring. And I think that is just, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot, sweetheart.
Count them, okay?
Sure, we'll count them when you're finished.
Okay.
All right. So, and you can give me some leaves too.
Okay.
It's like child labor going on right now, but she volunteered. I didn't ask. Yeah. So, so the wild violet also is used for any kind of tumors. This is again another herb that really is kind of course, it's used for everyone, but some of its highlights do work on the woman's reproductive system. So wild violets and red clover, they both do have an affinity for the woman's reproductive system. The red clover is more for like hormonal, and also used for those who have menopause, whereas the wild violets, one of their features is being noted for helping with tumor growth. Thank you. Especially breast cancer, but other areas as well, like ovarian tumors as well. All right, everyone, so I'm inside now, and I just wanted to talk about the last plant and do like a little mini recap. So my mic shorted. You might have noticed that I had some issues with it in the last part of the video, and so now it's not working at all. So I'm just gonna have to try to talk a little bit louder. Hopefully you can hear me. I want to talk lastly about cleavers. So I didn't know that I actually had cleavers in my backyard, and so I came across them. It was growing along the raspberries and the mint that I had planted, so it just was kind of found its other like forest friends, and it was just all around them and seeming to do well. But there was a small patch of it, and I said I probably have some more somewhere around here, and so I said it would be like behind my husband's shed. And so I was right. We don't usually go back there. The weeds kind of get a little bit higher back there, and it's just like a small area next to just a fence, and so it's not really a place where I usually like to hang out. And so, but I was able to find it, and it was actually further along. It actually had flowers and everything like that, whereas the other cleavers that I found didn't. So whenever you're using the plants, you just want to get the smaller, greener leaves, like the new growth at the top is always going to be more potent whenever you're trying to harvest. And usually when it has flowers, that's the time to harvest the flowers, and not the best time to get the leaves, but you just don't want to get the oldest leaves. If you do, you want to get the newer leaves as well. So just some of the benefits of cleavers. It can be used on the skin as well for itching, for redness. A lot of these herbs are wonderful to be used in poultices Cleavers also is lymphatic, so if you have any kind of like lymph node inflammation, it can help to drain that excess fluid from the body as well. So that's really beneficial. And also, cleavers is pretty nutritive and can be used, like it has a mild flavor as the chickweed, and so it can yield itself really well in dishes. If you just put a little bit of it, you won't really, notice. Um, and so, just to recap of some of the herbs, so many of them were alternative. So dandelion, cleavers, chickweed, and also red clover are alternative, so can help to drain off toxins and waste through the urine. So they often have that diuretic property, or they do have a diuretic property, where they help you to actually urinate more and you're getting the waste and everything out. But you also have some that are, and many of the ones I talked about, wild violet, red clover, cleavers, chickweed, all are demulcent, so they actually can give extra moisture to the tissues where they're needed. So that's also wonderful as well. And then we also have lymphagogues. So those are the ones, or the lymphatic herbs that can help with swollen lymph nodes. And I did talk about cleavers, chickweed, and wild violet in that area. And then also on the skin, the ones that are really beneficial for itchy skin, cleavers and chickweed. And then also the red clover is really good as well, noted for eczema use as well. So I just wanted to recap, and then the two herbs that are really wonderful for the women's reproductive system were wild violet. That was for like anti-tumor growth. And then we also had our red clover, wonderful for balancing the estrogen levels in the female reproductive system. So if you are interested in trying out any of the recipes that I did mention, they are from my newest book, Everyday Herbs. Really wanted it to be, the everyday recipe book, recipes that you would actually use. As you see, I featured some of our backyard herbs in the book, and that's really what I wanted to be. I wanted to be accessible to everyone, not, the fanciest herbs or the most expensive herbs, or herbs that you would only use one time and you wouldn't know other ways to use it. I use these herbs that most herbalists have, and many or most of us have access to for many of the recipes. And I really just wanted it to be a really good start guide. So if you're interested in my book, Everyday Herbs, I'll have it linked down below. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. You probably can't see it. Yes.
Do you hear that?
Yes, I do.
That is a bird.
Yes.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
Yeah.
Mama.
Hey, Chum Chum.
Mommy, a birdie.
Oh, give it back. Hey, not funny. It's not funny. But violets actually is used.
2 leaves.
There's 2 leaves? Yes.
And these 2 leaves, okay?
Yes. But I want more than 2 leaves.
Okay.
Have 10 leaves?
Okay.
20 leaves?
Of course.
Of course. Okay.
And 100.
I'll take 100.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Ooh, these leaves are brown. It's not a bug. It wasn't a bug. Samuel, be careful, please. Okay. Thank you.
Now?
I'll take some more. Thank you. Okay, so